and exemption. And that is where the big lie is. And I think that has been unpacked, thanks to Honorable Badi and the colleagues. Last Sunday I was in a church somewhere in the river, in Mulolongo, and I spoke about the skepticism at my level with people wanting to rush to court. Everybody is within their rights to rush to court, but we have also heard from our sister Caroline Karugu on the provisions of Article 48. My brother, who is also a very good friend, Wajakoya, will probably agree, and Mother, denying people access to justice as unconstitutional. So some people rushed and said Kalonzo is supporting the finance bill. My media team did a very good job of that disinformation. So you can see the level of panic. People are panicked because they're doing the wrong things. So, as I said, we are ready to go. Our teams are very well. A leader in Parliament is here, a leader in the National Assembly, and the leaders, of course, the matter is not going to the Senate, so it's all National Assembly. So, Wandai and the teams, I'm sure you are equal to the task. You want me to call some other friend? Yeah, I'll probably call my brother, Governor Iria, who has lived through this. But before you come, Iria, it appears to me, over and above all this, taxation, there's also the Kanjus. You know, the county governments are also doing their own taxation. So look at it. That's why I said you cannot develop an economy this way. And those who have been following even the debate on debt ceiling, for me, I find that completely unacceptable. The issue about debt ceiling had to get President Joe Biden leave the G20 or the G7 summit in Hiroshima, in Tokyo, to go back and make peace and argue and agree with the House Speaker of Congress, because America was at the verge of breaching even the debt ceiling thing. So this debt ceiling matter cannot be hidden. It must be brought to the fore so that Kenyans will know you cannot extend the debt ceiling without the full involvement discussion of Parliament. So hiding it under some funny clause that we just been told, I don't know who made that presentation, that the cabinet secretary responsible for finance can just go and lay on the table some information, and then the country then assumes that all is well. So I think in a nutshell, we are in a crisis, and we need to be able to accept that this is a crisis matter. And then, as my brother said, the conclusion was very clear. We give it to the public court. I don't know whether it's you, Kioni or Wanjakoya or Mwangi. Mwangi, you had stood. As I said, I had nothing useful to add. That's why I was muttering around. But I hope I've managed to clear some issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think from a broader sense, we need to look at this budget vis-a-vis the commitments which Kenya Kwanza gave to Kenyans, because that's why they were voted into office. Because even as we get into the figures, there are some broad commitments which Kenya Kwanza gave, and they are supposed to be delivered through the finance bill, essentially. To Central Kenya, for example, there was a commitment for guaranteed minimum prices for coffee, for tea, for milk, and for other farm produce. And from an income perspective, because like for example, from our region, our income comes from agriculture. This finance bill must answer the question, then, after implementing this finance bill, what then will be the guaranteed minimum price of tea, because it was a commitment. What will be the guaranteed minimum price of coffee? What will be the guaranteed minimum of price of milk, of cotton, of pyrethrum, and of other farm produce? Because that was the main commitment to farmers. So is coffee going to go to 200 as they committed, as an output of this finance bill? That is what those people expect, because they might not understand the numbers very clearly and the argument today, but the impact of this to them is what they need to take home. So Kenya Kwanza must tell us, out of this finance bill, then what will be the guaranteed price of coffee to Mount Kenya farmers, of tea, of milk, of rice, because that was their commitment. As we speak, tea attracts about 42 levies, 42 taxes. And when I was a governor, together with the governor of Kericho, we had actually gone to court, and the matter is still in court, trying to challenge the 42 levies against tea as a crop or as a sector. The matter is still in court. So those are the matters which this bill is supposed to be resolving for our farmers. But they're just giving us figures which are actually indicative of the fact that fertilizer is going to go up, the cost of transport is going to go up, packaging costs is going to go up. So when are we going then? How are we then going to get those deliverables? That is very important. They must tell, especially because I'm from Central and I'm not biased, and I'm speaking also for others, then what will be the price of the guaranteed minimum price of coffee to farmers? Tea, milk, cotton, that was a commitment. So they can do what they want, but then announce those prices as part of the finance bill. Lastly, this is not the only finance bill. We are going to have other 47 finance bills from every county. And because the model is the same, and the principle is the same, and the alignment is Kenya Kwanza, and this is a philosophy, it means we now expect worse bills from the counties. So how are we going then to marry the county finance bills and this finance bill and then say this is the overall burden to our people? Because this is half of the burden, or partial burden. So someone need to tell us then what will be the overall impact, because this is half the journey. There is another one which is going to come from the devolved system. What will be the overall impact to the average Kenyan of this bill? Because the other levies which are being discussed, and they have been encouraged, by the way, to make sure that they raise as much money as possible, because there is no money from Treasury. So as we look at it, we need to then ask what will be the overall impact, and we also need to assess, and our team need to get into the county finance bills so that we know the overall impact of this year's finance budget from both national and county governments. Thank you.
I think, to me, this is a Shakahora budget. We are all candidates for Shakahora. At this late, none of us can be able to add a kilo to our weights, because the cost of living is certainly going to be totally beyond the reach of all Kenyans. And I wanted to say, when we talked about the 4-5 issues as Azimio, the cost of living, this bill deals with the cost of living. So when we were saying that before any talks take place, we needed to address the cost of living, you can see where the vision that our leader had. When you talk about the need to protect multi-party democracy, to ensure that parties within Azimio are not swallowed or collapsed, is because if they are collapsed, then there will not be this voice on behalf of Kenyans. the voice of the voiceless will have been taken away, and they are still at it. And I think it is important that they are told they will not succeed, because in succeeding, they will have killed the voice that speaks on behalf of Kenyans. You now can see them clearly trying to legalize corruption. When you say that you'll be taking to Parliament the minister to go and justify why he breached the law, and you provide that in an act of Parliament, it's a regime that is not keen on fighting corruption at all. In the whole of the presentations that we have had, I didn't hear any attempt to seal the loopholes. And if we sealed the loopholes, I'm sure there will be a lot of money that can come back and be available to Kenyans for the things that they have been complaining about. Our party leader, Azimio party leader, has again read us in talking about the need to look at the IBC. The whole process of arriving at leaders. The leaders we have in Parliament and those who went through the window into State House and other places are now producing this. So if our process of electing people is not checked, it will continue producing people who do not care about the welfare of Kenyans. And that is clear from the kind of bill that has been led to us and the one we have been going through. We've been talked about Vision 2030. No, and let me also say, when you have in Parliament, Mheshimiwa Wadai, unfortunately, when you have in Parliament 90% or 80% of fellas there, and especially from some regions, were all leagued in, they have no business leading these bills. They will just continue leaguing your lives out of anything useful. And that's what they are doing. Vision 2030, a country, a people without vision. That's what the Bible says. People perish if we move away from this vision. And they have not mentioned the issue of Vision 2030 or even 2063 anywhere. So we are just people galloping in the dark. Haki ya Mungu, tuko kwa shida hapa. And again, as His Excellency has said, the universal health care through the widow, it just evaporated. A short while ago, you'd use your people back in the countryside who are happy with NHIF cards. Today, you produce it and you are chased out of the hospital. My brother is a doctor and he was told, don't retain anybody in hospital, even after any, whatever kind of operation, beyond 4 days. If you retain them beyond 4 days, wewe mwenyewe utalipa. So it's a question of whether you want to undertake these operations it's crazy. But there is one more thing that I think we need to focus on. And this is what would help us and the Senate. Our Kinara has said it many times, but maybe it has not been, the media has not picked it. The amount of money that is spent by Parliament moving from one country to the other, it's a lot of money. The speakers, for example, and especially in the Senate, they actually exchange suitcases at the airport. He has so many places to go, he has no time, to cover all the trips that have been earmarked for him in a year. If we cannot focus on this also, I think it's something, 41 billion shillings to Parliament compared to the judiciary at 20-something, 22, or something like that, and the housing at 29. There are areas where these characters can focus on and still achieve some of the things they think need to be achieved. Of course, not housing, without taxing the Kenyans. Taxing the merry-go-round, Mama Boga na wale mem. I don't know whether you understand. Mount Kenya is full of those merry-go-rounds. And merry-go-round, chamas, all those, table banking. So you introduce table banking so that you can get a murija kukunywa maziwa ya kina mama jikoni. So this is really taxing people while they are sitting at the fireplace. It's really not something that we need to sit loud and wait. But Baba, as I was coming from Nyandarua the other day, I bought some fruits. And a lady who was selling fruits to me said, "When nimekuona kwa Azimio, this pineapple, I am buying it for you, for Baba. Take it to Baba and tell Baba, you are our only hope. Ukirudi nyuma, wa Kenya watapata shida." Kwa hivyo, Kenyans are looking at what you are doing and the leadership that you are giving to us. na jana usiku nikaambiwa wanagojea tu kuambiwa twende. Pali utasema watu waende, hapo ndio watu wataenda. Wame give up kwa hii watu ambao wako hapa. Asante sana. Thank you so much.
Before I invite the last two speakers, let me introduce some of us who are in the room. We have the Honorable Peter Orero, who is our host MP, the MP for Kibra. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Orero. We have Mr. Yagwik Ramji, the Deputy Party Leader of Roots Party. Makofi kwake. We have Ambassador Elkana Odembo. I'm sure you all know him. Karibu sana Balozi. We have Sheikh Juma Ngao and his colleague. Very good, Mashae. Thank you very much. Of course, we have in the house our technical team. They have been joined now by Professor Adam Solo, Durong Wen, and the rest of the team. Let me invite Honorable Wajakwe to make a... Yes. I'll be inviting, of course, Honorable Paranya to come in later. He's the chairman of the Azimio National Executive Committee. Thank you.
Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka, Mheshimiwa Martha Karua, Mheshimiwa Governor wa Iria, Mheshimiwa Kioni, Mheshimiwa Paranya. I'll be very brief and I will not go to what has been said. I talk differently. When you go to a place, you don't repeat what others have said because they have made a point. Baba has made a point, the rest have made a point. I've looked into this budget. This budget is rotten. I'm not going to comment on it because it doesn't have things that matter. In Kenya today, with Gulalu Galana, which was 1 million acres of land, we had proposed as Roots Party before, we had proposed that we shall take 200,000 acres of land in Galana Gulalu and grow wheat for export. We'll not be having this issue of manuring, this issue of propositions of taxes up and taxes down. Bang does not need fertilizer. Bang does not need to be nurtured. It only grows for 4 months. But the reason why I'm talking of bank economics is the world has moved away from this miniature kind of budgetary system which are imposed by the World Bank, IMF, or Bretton Woods institutions. I, as a scholar of Bretton Woods institutions, that's law in economics, law and development, if you look at what Walter Rodney wrote, and I'm sure my friend Honorable Kalonzo is very much aware because he's a reader, Walter Rodney wrote of a phraseology that led to his death when he was a Guyanese living in Dar es Salaam at that particular time, of how Europe underdeveloped Africa. So we are talking of hegemony of development and undermining underdevelopment because they are looking at us and saying that Africans have no conscience. We have to develop them. If you look at Professor Yunus of Bangladesh, who is also a scholar renowned for women banking, cooperative women banking, a theme that has been taken over by Bangladesh, which is mixed with Islamic banking, that the World Bank has now borrowed that kind of paradigm, where banking is done from the locality of the women where they are found. And that's a story for another day. We will not be talking on this everyday budget, every day sijui nani amefanya nini. Kama tungepanda bangi for export and for economic development, not for smoking, we will not be having this kind of discussions every day. I speak very harshly because I am one of you. And I am one of you. I am also recognized wherever I've been in terms of intellectual scholarly work that we have contributed to Harvard, London School of Economics, whereby the whites use us to develop some conscience. Now look at these theories that we are talking about here. These are the kingdom theories. There are theories that are violating what you call kingdom theories, where they talk of the garbage can and the policies. Now here, what Ruto has done is that he has brought a policy to look for a solution. No, he has brought a solution to look for a policy. Instead of putting solutions together, and then you look for a policy, our system is upside down. And none of our leaders are thinking of this. Go outside the box. Look at those Kenyans in the diaspora. Ask them why they're working there. And Honorable Odemo is here. He was one of the best ambassadors we had when we were in the UK. He used to accommodate what we had. Let's look at what we can borrow from the diaspora. We have the brains outside this country that can come and develop this country. Let's look at the Museveni format, the formula that Museveni has used. None of us want to talk about the Kenyans in the diaspora. We talk about ourselves. Somebody went to Kangundo High School, Nairobi University, worked in the ministry, went to live in Lavington. What kind of policy do you think this person can make? Thank you very much.
Aya, makofi kwa Mheshimiwa Wajakoya. Allow me now to invite the Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya, who is the chairman of the Azimio National Executive Council, and also the deputy party leader of ODM, to come and make closing remarks, really. And if there will be any questions, general questions, we'll ask the party leader to perhaps field them. Thank you. Karim.
Thank you very much, Honorable Wandai. I want to apologize that I came in late. I was late, so I decided to sit at the back because I was late. And it was because of other commitments that I had earlier that I could not skip. So I want to apologize. Now, Wajakoya said that my brother, that we planned Bangi for export. I don't know how we will protect people from picking it for smoking, what mechanism we shall have when we plant it so that it is not for smoking. But let me tell you that one of the principles of taxation is simplicity. Simplicity is a key principle of taxation. And simplicity in two ways. One, how you calculate it. It should be understood by the taxpayer that this is how tax will be calculated, and he can even calculate himself or herself and pay voluntarily because it's very simple. And the second one is how you collect it, because you have to look at the cost of collection versus the tax itself. Because if the collection is very expensive, more than even the tax itself, then that's not a good tax. So if you look at this taxation, they are lowering the threshold for turnover tax. It means there will be so many people in that net. Even Mama Mboga will be in that net. Then how are you going to collect that tax? Will you go around harassing Mama Mboga, collecting it? So that is going to be an issue. But ladies and gentlemen, remember, you are talking about Ruto, and I've said here even before, these are not Ruto's proposal. You know very well who put Ruto in power. These are the people who are telling him that if we have to keep you in power, to continue in power, this is what you should do. And we shall continue supporting you so long as you do what we tell you. That's all. I don't think even Ruto has read this taxation bill. I don't think. It is just being imposed on him. And as you go through it, remember that. Now, the finance, our economic committee was here. There is an issue that I picked up in the finance bill, that they are making a proposal to zero rate VAT on acquisition of going concern. Companies that already exist, that if you come and acquire that company, you will not pay VAT. Who are these people? You know, you acquire a company when you are rich. So if you are a rich man, you are coming to acquire Kenya pipeline. Why should I exempt you from VAT? zero rate VAT that you are going to pay. It means, and you remember, it means already these people are now targeting these companies to acquire them cheaply. Because how do you attract even investors to come and acquire already the existing company? You attract